Focused and fearless, here's everything you need to know this rush hour of November 5, Tuesday. I'm Riza Diaz. Jumpstarting today's rush with President Duterte back from the ASEAN summit in Thailand. Now, the last day of the conference featured a meeting with the U.S. representatives, which Duterte skipped along with most head of the states. Marlene Alcaide has the report.
7 out of 10 ASEAN leaders skipped ASEAN-US summit. Only 3 leaders were present: Thailand Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha, Lao People's Democratic Republic Prime Minister Tung Loon Si Sulit, and Vietnam's Prime Minister Nguyen Xuan Phuc. United States President Donald Trump skipped the annual ASEAN summit for the second time. Trump sent U.S. National Security Advisor Robert O'Brien and Secretary of Commerce Wilbur Ross on his behalf. Finance Secretary Carlos Dominguez thinks that Trump's absence should not matter. He says it is better to look into America's actions than its presence. Presidential spokesman Salvador Panelo says Trump's absence is understandable because he is facing an impeachment inquiry.
Maybe that's the reason why he did not come. But it doesn't mean that he is not concerned with what is happening in this region.
Like Trump, President Rodrigo Duterte did not make it to the summit, at least on time. Panelo said the president had to pass by a restroom. Foreign Affairs Secretary Teodoro Locsin served as Duterte's representative. Dominguez believes sending representatives is okay since the meeting will go on as usual.
When it's not a leader, I think, and it comes up on a ministerial level, I think the ministers will take care of that. It's just a matter of proper balance.
During the ASEAN Plus 3 summit, Duterte missed the photo op with other ASEAN leaders. DFA Assistant Secretary Juniver Mahilum West filled in for him. Mahilum West even sat on the leaders' table. In the last 3 days, Duterte attended all the ASEAN summits. He has been actively participating in the summit. The president raised issues on the West Philippine Sea, saying freedom of navigation and overflight should be observed. He also asked ASEAN to help resolve territorial disputes in the waters through the immediate completion of a binding code of conduct for China and other Southeast Asian countries. For News 5, Marlene Alcaide, we are One News.
Lawmakers are no longer pushing to give President Duterte emergency powers to solve traffic. House Speaker Alan Peter Cayetano says the lower chamber will simply exercise its oversight powers to ease traffic in urban areas. Recall that the chief executive has been asking for emergency powers to solve the traffic problem since his first year as president. But after some lawmakers insinuated that such power may be abused, Duterte said he will not get down on his knees and plead for it. Over 500 passengers of the MRT Line 3 had to be unloaded yesterday after a northbound train emitted smoke at Santolan Annapolis Station. This prompted management to implement limited trips between Shaw Boulevard and Taft Avenue stations with only 7 trains left running. MRT 3's operations returned to normal at past 6 in the evening. Now, the train operator has already apologized to the public for the incident and likewise assured that together with its maintenance provider, they will conduct a thorough investigation into the matter and implement measures to prevent this from happening again. Meanwhile, just after the incident, Sumitomo Mitsubishi Heavy Industries have started replacing rail track at MRT 3. Now, once completed, this will allow the train to run faster, thus shortening travel time between stations. Government officials are now scrambling to accommodate earthquake-hit residents in North Cotabato, both the ones in evacuation centers and those who refuse to leave their homes. Ryan Ang has the story.
This was the scene in Makilala, Cotabato days after multiple earthquakes jolted the area. Residents assembled on the side of the road, holding up signs asking for food and water. They say they were not getting any relief goods as these were delivered exclusively to evacuation centers.
Pero doon, hindi na kami pinapansin, sir ba? Pansinin din nila kami, hindi bali yung wala kaming nagiba na bahay, pero tubig, importante yung tubig, pagkain.
Defense Secretary Delfin Lorenzana touts this a humanitarian crisis. He describes how homes are either destroyed or abandoned by owners in fear of further collapse. While there are enough relief goods in evacuation centers, Lorenzana says what's needed is a better distribution system, but the Social Welfare Department is only directing this to the centers.
Mahalaga po na nandito sila para maayos ang ating sistema, hindi doble-doble. Kasi kung magbigay kami sa kalsada na delikado, madaanan kami, we have 9 evacuation centers na ngayon. At dadami pa yan dahil nga paano namin madadagdagan kung hindi naman napupuno ito.
Lorenzana wants those on the side of the roads to be transferred to evacuation centers, but some still refuse.
Okay na lang dito, sir, kasi mayroon kaming mga hayop dito, sir, ba? Nga, malayo naman doon, sir.
Hindi pa kayo natatakot?
Hindi man, okay lang kami dito, sir. Basta mayroon lang kami mga pagkain.
To help residents who can't leave their homes, the DSWD asked donors to send relief goods to the local government units, who will then distribute these goods to their constituents. Foreign aids are also pouring in. The Chinese embassy in Manila has donated 22 million pesos to quake-hit Mindanao. For News 5, Ryan Ang, We Are One News.
Over at the House of the Representatives, lawmakers offered their annual Christmas tree lighting ceremony for earthquake victims in Mindanao. House Speaker Cayetano said about 90 congressmen have pitched in amounts ranging from 20,000 to 100,000 pesos from their own pockets to help earthquake victims. Meanwhile, Cayetano said they will strive to quickly approve the proposal to build 3 new departments. That's for water, overseas workers, and disaster resiliency and management, which he says would fast-track assistance and response during emergencies and natural calamities. Now, when it comes to aid from outside sources, Defense Secretary Delfin Lorenzana says it may not be necessary. Philippine Star quotes Lorenzana saying that the international community is not needed in this case and that the government has enough resources to accommodate the victims of the recent earthquakes in Mindanao. From Filipino Star ngayon, the Senate has approved the resolution seeking to replace cash benefits for the Pantawid Pamilyang Pilipino program with rice subsidies. 21 senators voted in favor of the Senate Joint Resolution Number 8, which will allow the Social Welfare Department and the National Food Authority to buy palay from local farmers that will be processed and distributed to qualified 4-piece beneficiaries. Now, those qualified will receive 600 pesos worth of rice subsidy per month. And this from the Free Man. Cebu Governor Gwendolyn Garcia extended the ban on all pork and pork-related products from Luzon and the 21 ASF-affected areas or countries until 2020. Garcia said the ban will be in place until June 30 next year to protect Cebu residents and their 11 billion peso hog industry. Now, Garcia assured that the ban will be lifted once authorities can assure that the virus has been contained. Both Agriculture and Health Department have confirmed that some processed pork products of McKinney Food Corporation have tested positive for African swine fever. Meanwhile, not even half of food processing firms tested by the FDA and National Meat Inspection Service have passed regulatory standards. Shaila Francisco has the story.
It's really been McKinney all along. The Agriculture Department has identified a medium-scale brand whose products were affected by the African swine fever. 2 weeks ago, McKinney's goods, together with unbranded products, were confiscated in Oriental Mindoro and tested positive for the virus. The products, though, were placed in one container, which opened the possibility of cross-contamination. But after 2 validation tests, plant samples of McKinney's skinless longaniza and picnic hot dog resulted positive for ASF.
This is to end consumers' speculations that may have untoward effect on all other processed pork products.
The DA is still probing the meat source since imported frozen meat were ASF negative. McKinney was given until this week to explain their side. If found guilty, its license to operate can be revoked by the FDA, while the DA could file charges.
There is a meat inspection code. At ito yung sinabi na ni Rooney na it's a crime to sell, trade, and or slaughter sick or dead pigs for meat or for processed pork products. Violators will face imprisonment from 6 to 12 years or fine of 100,000 pesos to 1 million or both.
In a statement, McKinney says it will cooperate with the investigation. With pork products pulled out and under quarantine, McKinney has sent samples for independent laboratory testing. Its pork-based processing area has been suspended and its facilities has undergone disinfection. The DOH reminds the public ASF-positive pork products are still safe to eat.
Kung naman in the past nakakain sila, nakaluto sila nito, then they shouldn't be afraid naman, ano? Kasi wala naman hazard sa kanila. Ang ginagawa ng FDA pag ganitong medical and meron silang nabili, then they can return it to the dealer. And the dealer will have to, of course, submit it to yung manufacturer and distributor for proper disposal. Ibabalik dapat yung pera nila.
The FDA and the National Meat Inspection Service are now conducting tests in meat processing plants. Out of the 178 firms, 63 have been tested and have passed regulatory standards. Meanwhile, the DA is finalizing a national zoning plan. Visayas, Mindanao, Mimaropa, and Masbate will be declared free zones with bigs allowed for transport to other parts of the country. However, ASF-infected zones will only be allowed to sell and transport in other infected zones in NCR. Regions 3 and 4A will be designated as surveillance zone, Luzon as containment zone, while Cordillera Regions 1, 2, and 5 will be protected zones. Shaila Francisco, WR1 News.
And Agriculture Secretary William Dar believes that smuggled pork from China could have been the source of African swine fever in the country. Dar explained that ASF-positive pork may have been dumped in Rodriguez Rizal, which was then fed to the pigs in that area. He added that a possible evidence for this is the smuggled pork declared as tomato paste from China.
Yung galing China na sibat natin ay positive ASF also. Meaning, itong talaga ang pinaka-problema natin. Introduce po itong ASF, meat and pork products yung nakumpiska natin at nagka-positive. So ito na yung this confirms our earlier hypothesis na talagang galing sa ibang bansa.
Let's fast break now to Sports Brush. Organizers and national athletes are now working double time as the 30th Southeast Asian Games draws near. Ryan Ang with the story.
Less than a month remains before the Philippines hosts the 2019 Southeast Asian Games, and the athletes are not the only one busy preparing for the biennial meet. Organizers of the biennial meet are working double time to make sure that everything is set in stone before the games begin. Delegates from various countries put to test the diving and athletics facilities at the New Clark City Sports Hub.
Overall, this test event is a good test for us in all operations, not only competition, but all areas that we need to improve during games time.
In the historic Rizal Memorial Coliseum, where the gymnastics events will be held, almost 300 employees are working on a 24/7 schedule to finish renovations before the November 13 deadline.
Ngayon, nasa 85% na to. We commit to finish in 2 weeks' time. So, 12, no, sa November 12, ito turn over namin partially, no, para magamit siya sa pep rally. And then after the pep rally, we will do some tweaking, no, of the building prior to the SEA Games.
The goal is to maintain the Art Deco design of the building that was built in 1934, while also installing features like new chairs, air conditioning units, 6 state-of-the-art dugouts, an improved lighting system, and a visitor center.
Actually, para talaga siyang bagong building, no? New plumbing, new electrical, new fire protection system and all. Parang yung shell lang talaga ang no? And the historical significance yung sinisafeguard natin.
Repairs are still ongoing in the Ninoy Aquino Stadium, where weightlifting and taekwondo will take place. The squash building inside the compound is also under construction, but there are concerns that it won't be 100% complete in time. So the Philippine Sports Commission opted to transfer the event in the Manila Polo Club.
Matatapos yung building, but yung ilalagay doon na manggagaling pa sa Germany, na baka hindi dumating on time.
The Philippine SEA Games Organizing Committee assured that all the preparations will be finished before the opening of the biennial meet.
Yun ang sagot ng ating CEO at naniniwala ako doon. Kasi yung major aspects naman ng games, yung facilities, yung pag-organize ng games, yung mga teams, yung mga equipment, ayos na.
There are also plans to form a crisis committee to prepare for contingency plans and address unforeseen circumstances before and during the meet. For News 5, Ryan Ang, We Are One News.
And that's how the day is shaping up to be. Join us again next time for another round of Rush. I'm Riza Diaz. We are One News.